So I've been planning on making a video on The Boys Season 3 or just reviews for them weekly, but haven't really gotten the chance. But after the newest episode, episode 6, I have to, because not only is this the best season of the show yet, but it also might be one of the best seasons of television I've ever seen. And episode 6, the most recent episode, is hands down one of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen in my life. I absolutely loved it. And it's a perfect way to do payoff of something that has been set up throughout the show. Like, Episode 6 felt like the culmination of so much that has been set up throughout the show and so much plot lines that are coming together. It almost felt like, not just that it should be a season final for this season, but it also felt like it could be kind of the last episode before you get into the final episode of the entire show. That's how insane and how huge it was. It's kind of crazy to think that we not just have 2 episodes left coming this season, but we still have another season after this one. I really enjoyed season 1. I really enjoyed season 2. I know a lot of people kind of had problems with season 2 about how with season 2 of The Boys, they kind of kept delving into using blackmail as a way to deal with the soups. But I think that it was still a really good season, really well done. I think I like season 2 slightly more than season 1, but season 3 blows them out of the water. And that's crazy to say because it was already one of my favorite shows of all time. And now season 3 is just making it that much higher up on the list, which is crazy. Now, obviously, there's going to be huge spoilers for the first 6 episodes of season 3 if you haven't seen them yet. So spoiler warning for that. But yeah, so Soldier Boy, Jensen Ackles' Soldier Boy, that's what I want to start off talking with because I feel like he is such a great addition to the show. I'm not used to seeing Jensen Ackles in a role like this. Like, obviously we've seen him in Supernatural for 15 years, but this kind of role where he's just, he's everything that you could think of that a character like him would be in the show, he is. Like, if you take Captain America and put him in the world of the boys, that's what he is, and he plays it so well. And I also really like the reveal that his original team, Payback, was not just before the Seven, but like they're literally the Avengers of this world, the way that the Seven are the Justice League of this world, and that's really, really, really cool. But I think that he's working really well. He's playing off the characters well, and we finally got the first head-to-head between him and Homelander in episode 6, and it was everything you could have wanted. Now, I personally was really worried that we were going to kind of go down the storyline of where, because he's Soldier Boy, because he wants to be the head honcho and he does what he wants, that he wasn't going to stick to the team-up that he agreed to with Butcher and Huey. I was kind of worried that, at the first sign of things not going his way, he'd just dip, he'd just leave. He's in it to take care of his old teammates. Sure, he says he's going to help with Homelander, but is he really? But no, he's stuck there. He stuck to the fight. Like, he easily could have dipped once Butcher came in to fight Homelander. No, he didn't. He stuck around to fight. He stuck around to help. And just the team up of Huey, Soldier Boy, and William against Homelander, it was a culmination of 3 seasons of the show to this date, and it was such an amazing payoff in the best way possible. Like, now obviously there's going to be a much bigger fight coming, but I think just finally seeing Homelander scared almost, or I don't know if we saw him scared, but to see him be like, what the fuck, like, this is not supposed to go this way. This is the first time we've kind of seen him being taken aback by something completely not going how he expected it to, and I absolutely love that. I've seen a lot of people as well say that Homelander would have gotten easily tanked in any fight. Like, before this episode came out, people would say whenever a real fight comes up that is against somebody that Homelander is on the same level as, the fight was not going to go Homelander's way because he's not trained, he's never actually had to have a proper fight. But I think that it makes sense now that Soldier Boy, it wasn't like an easy kind of Soldier Boy beat him instantly. Because not only is Soldier Boy like fresh out of 20, 30 years of sleep, but honestly almost 40 years, isn't it? But I think it makes sense that Homelander would have still got training from Vought. Like, he wouldn't have just been sitting on his ass all the time. Edgar would have given him some stuff in case kind of a real big bad ever showed up. Maybe not Edgar, because we know that Edgar has been trying to kind of keep Homelander under him, so he probably doesn't want to train Homelander too well, but I'm sure there has been training where Homelander would not just get topped over immediately if one of the super terrorists ended up being a legit threat, sort of thing. So I think it went kind of as expected. But I really do like what they're doing with Homelander this season. Like, he's on the very brink of snapping, and after the events of this episode where Starlight or Annie eventually revealed to the world that Homelander is a piece of shit, that I think now we're on the verge of him snapping. I could see the end of episode 7 being him snapping, episode 8 dealing with him kind of going absolutely insane across the world. That does kind of bring into question though the longevity of the show, because I haven't read the comics, but I've heard that in the comics Homelander is only like the first main villain, and that there's another couple villains that come after Homelander after you're done with Homelander. But from what I understand, there's not as much emphasis put on Homelander in the comics as there is in the show. Like, now, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who has read the comics, but I've heard that Homelander, he's not as like the center of the comics conflict like he is in the show. Because to me, Homelander kind of is the show, if that makes sense. Like, Butcher is also a huge part, but the Butcher versus Homelander conflict is kind of the center of the show. And I think that, this season, Homelander kind of has to go, or next season, Homelander kind of has to go. I think now that we know that there's people on his level, we know that he's on the verge of snapping. I think once Homelander snaps, there is not as much you can do before the show has to kind of go, okay, let's start to wrap up this storyline. But once you wrap up the storyline of Homelander, I don't know if there's much that the show can do and still stay as interesting as it currently is. Like, personally, I would probably, once you deal with Homelander, I would probably wrap the show up the season after or a couple episodes after. Like, I don't think the show would be as popular or would be as good without Homelander and Butcher kind of at the center of it. And it also brings into question the whole Butcher thing. Like, I think Butcher's storyline is going in one direction, and that's to his death. Like, I think Butcher needs to die at the end of this Homelander thing. Like, we even saw in the recent episode where Soldier Boy was trying to use the nuke to kill Homelander, using nuke powers, and Butcher was not leaving. Like, Butcher was there ready to die. Because once Homelander's dead, Butcher doesn't really have another point. Like, there's nothing else he wants to do other than kill Homelander for Rebecca. So I think that once you take care of Homelander, Butcher is kind of gone. I think he's done so. I think I could see it being like Homelander kills Butcher and then, or they kill each other kind of thing. Like, they both deal with each other, take each other out. Because I don't see, it's the same thing, like, I don't think you can have Homelander sticking around without really Butcher either. This is just my opinion, but I think, both those characters are almost at the end of their storylines, and I think you need to start talking about maybe them not being present in the show after like mid next season. But on top of that, I also don't think you can do the show without them. It's kind of a crazy thing to think about. But that's just kind of how I feel as well. But it's like, I don't think you could make the show last if it was just Huey and Starlight and MM. I think you really do need to kind of start looking into where you take the show once you deal with them, and how long do you use them until you do finish their storylines up. But like, on top of that, this season does feel like it's culminating a lot of things that have been carrying out throughout the show. Like, A-Train, I'm pretty sure he's dead after the most recent episode. Now, we didn't get clarification on it, but it makes sense for me that was the scene where he died. He dealt with Blue Hawk, which, one of the most gruesome deaths on the show. I loved it. But right before that happened, he finally apologized to Huey properly for what happened with Robin back in the very first episode of the show. So, like, this is something that's been going on for almost 3 whole seasons, and we finally finished it. And that was kind of one of A-Train's biggest. And he also, in this episode, kind of really dealt with a lot of pop cloth stuff that also hasn't really been brought up since early season 2. So it's like a lot of things that were big about his story ended in this episode. So I also don't really see how you could use A-Train after this episode, because a lot of his storylines have been wrapped up. And that's also kind of the thing where a lot of characters this season are being wrapped up. Like Queen Maeve, she easily could be gone. I'm not thinking she's gone yet. I think she still is going to be back in the show in some capacity, but I think she's also sort of coming to the end of her natural story, which is take down Homelander. Same with like Black Noir. I don't know what they're doing with Black Noir, but I love it. He's probably the second most interesting character in the show, especially after the most recent episode where he just ran when he realized that Soldier Boy was hunting down members of Payback. He was like, I can't deal with it. I know that the Boys Diabolical, which was the prequel, or I don't even know if it's prequel, it was like the animated show that came out before this season did, and it had one-off stories about things happening in the Boys universe, and one of the episodes was like Homelander's first mission, and Black Noir was there helping him out. But besides that, I really want to know what the story is between Black Noir and Homelander, considering that Homelander, it's like the one person that Homelander just really, really, really respects, even though he never talks. And now it easily could tie back to the fact that he did help Homelander on his first mission, but I feel like there's a lot more to that, and it would go a lot deeper. But it's really interesting. The French Kimiko and Nina stuff. I love the Frenchie and Kimiko stuff. I think that that's great. I'd love those characters. I'm worried for Frenchie. I'm not as crazy about the little Nina stuff and kind of that whole aspect of the story. Now, I understand it's there to flesh out Frenchie because we really didn't know a lot about Frenchie before he fell in with Mallory and all that sort of stuff. But I do think the little Nina stuff in particular isn't the best. And while I'm interested in the Frenchie and Kimiko aspect of it, I think it's probably the weak point of the season for me. I think that the rest of the season is much better. But I mean, this episode dealt with that in a great way, and I'm assuming that we're going to wrap up the little Nina stuff in episode 7 and episode 8. I am, again, though, worried that Frenchie is donezo, like, that this might be the end of his storyline as well. The other member of the boys I haven't talked about is Marvin, this is probably his biggest season. I've seen a lot of people bring up that he hasn't gotten a lot to do with this season in comparison to everybody else, but I completely disagree. I think that this is the most he's gotten to do in any season. Like, we've delved into his past with Soldier Boy, we've delved into, you know, a lot of the issues he has. We've done a lot more with his family than we have in the last couple of seasons. So I think that we have gotten a lot to do with him this season, and I also kind of worry that maybe he's reaching the end of his story. But for me, I think that a natural ending point of his story would be finally getting back to his family. Like, I think if any of the boys are going to survive this whole thing, I think Marvin's probably the most likely. Huey as well, I can't see the show ending with Huey dying. Just because he was originally, you know, the eye for the audience. I think that Keel'll survive and Butcher won't, kind of thing. Which Huey is also on a really destructive path this season. He's so much different to how he was in all the other seasons. But I'm loving it. I think it's a really good direction for the character. It's really interesting. His powers are really interesting. And overall, I just think that what they do with the characters is so well done that there's payoff. That they're always interesting. And I'm in love with this show, man. I cannot wait to see where it goes in the final 2 episodes. I just hope that we don't have like a 2.5 year break before season 4 like we did between season 2 and 3. But yeah, I also personally think that season 4 could easily be the final season if they want to go that path. I think you maybe even deal with Homelander, finish him off in these next 2 episodes, and then the season 4 is kind of the aftermath of all of that. Because I personally just don't see how the show could continue without Homelander, because he's such a big part of everything that's happening. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. But how did you feel about the boys so far this season? Are you hyped for the last 2 episodes? What do you want to see in them? Hoping to reach 1,000 subscribers this year, which will be absolutely amazing. So if you enjoyed this video, can you subscribe? It would be a huge help, and like and share and all of that. And I hope you have a great day.